Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either July 25th or 26th, 2023. And I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? I want to thank all of you who took the time last week to let me know down in the comments something that you liked about my videos and something that you would like to see improved about my videos. I really appreciate it. It showed a lot of support and it showed a lot of respect and appreciation for me, and it gave me a lot of great things to think about. Thank you all so much for that. I'm going to try to institute some changes into this week's video, primarily to try to keep the video to a shorter amount of time, hopefully less than 15 minutes. And so in that regard, let's shut up with this preamble and get right into the content of this video. First, by taking a look back at my pick from 2 weeks ago, which was Fish Flies, issue number 1. And the question remains, was it a worthy and worthwhile pick to be my just one book pick of the week? And the answer is no. No, not really. It wasn't bad at all. It was actually pretty entertaining and interesting, but it's a bit weird, and I expect a bit weird from Jeff Lemire. But it was a bit weird in a way that didn't really sink its claws in me. It didn't really capture my attention. Now, conversely, I'll mention that another book that came out that same week, 2 weeks ago, was X-Men Days of Future Past Doomsday. Was issue number 1 of the limited series, where they're telling a little bit of the backstory to the events that led to the future occurrence from X-Men Days of Future Past. That was a lot of fun and really entertaining, and just like a lot of like wow moments that really engaged me. So that book, I'm absolutely going to pick up more of the future issues of it, and I'm going to see it all the way through to the end. Fish Flies, basically done with it. I'm not mad about it. I'm just not going to continue with it. And also, I will mention that if you were speccing on Fish Flies in any way, shape, or form, I can confirm that you want to go after the free comic book day version of this book. That's where the first appearances lie. But I'm sure potentially there might be some spec potential to issue number 1 as well. But I think more toward the free comic book day book. Okay, great. Now, let's move on and talk about the books that are coming out this week. Now, first I'm going to tell you that there are 2 books that I am pulling this week. I am pulling, in addition to my just one book pick, which was one that kind of snuck up on me, but more about that later in the video. I'm pulling New Burn, issue number 9 from Image Comics. This is a title written by my second favorite writer, Chip Zdarsky. It's basically about a guy who's a former cop who works to settle disputes amongst gang families, crime families in the city that he lives in. And that's just what's happening on the surface. It's a great, interesting story, pretty chill, but pretty compelling by a great writer. I'm going to be picking up this week, because I like Chip Zdarsky as much as I do. I'm also picking up World Tree, issue number 4, because, of course, James Tynion IV is my number 1 favorite writer. He's my guy. I'm really enjoying World Tree, so I'm picking up World Tree, issue number 4 as well. I want to take a quick moment to talk about, as I have in the past few weeks of videos, the DC Night Terrors books that are coming out this week. There's Night Terrors Action Comics, issue number 1 of a 2-issue limited series. We have Night Terrors Angel Breaker, issue number 1 of a 2-issue limited series. We have Night Terrors Detective Comics, issue number 1 of a 2-issue limited series. We have Night Terrors Harley Quinn, issue number 1 of a 2-issue limited series. And then finally, we have Night Terrors Titans, issue number 1 of a 2-issue limited series. Lots of Night Terror stuff. Once again, sounds interesting to me. And bless your heart if you're trying to go after everything. Also on the DC tip This week, I want to give you a heads up about Poison Ivy Uncovered, issue number 1. It's a one-shot. Basically, the description is an unforgettable gallery of Poison Ivy's greatest variant covers. Art by Jenny Friesen, Joshua Middleton, Warren Lau, Frank Cho, Soiza Micah, and others. Poison Ivy lends herself quite well to really fantastic art. And so this is some of that all collected in one place. So if you're a Poison Ivy fan or just a fan of really good art, this might be something worth checking out this week. All right, my honorable mentions, and I'm going to be I'm going to read little, if not none, of most descriptions of books moving forward. But let's get into the honorable mentions. The first one I want to tell you about this week is a new book called Per Evil, issue number 1 of a 6-issue limited series from Image Comics. Basically, here's a short bit of the description. It says, Rita loves her daughter Deb, but a dark evil from her past threatens the lives of anyone who gets too close to it. Can the bond between two women overcome a life built on blood and lies? And what secret is lurking in the Mirando family's apartment? It sounds like this could be interesting. I am not a fan of Mirka Andolfo, and this is a book from Mirka Andolfo. Why am I not a fan of Mirka Andolfo? I cannot tell you why. I have not read anything by her, but generally speaking, when I see books from her, I check them out. I'm like, oh, let me see what this is about. Yeah, not interested. And this is another instance of that. But if you're a fan of Mirka Andolfo, and there's a lot of them out there because she's constantly putting out new stuff, you might want to consider checking it out this week. The next book I want to tell you about is another new book. It is called Alice Never After, issue number 1 of a 5-issue limited series from Boom Studios. Basically, all you need to know about this book is that this is the continuing adventures of Alice in Neverland. It seems like it has a little bit more of an adult-leaning, darker tone to it. So if you're an adult who maybe loved Alice in Wonderland and wants more from that story and from that world, Alice Never After might just be the book for you. The next book I want to tell you about is Berserker, Poetry of Madness, issue number 1. It's a one-shot from Boom Studios. Basically, this is a one-shot that takes place before the story that was told in the 12-issue Berserker series. This is from a different era when the main character from Berserker, B, I think is what they call him for short, I think he had other names as well, was working as a protector of Atlantis. Yes, you heard me right, the lost city of Atlantis. Now, I gotta tell you, Berserker I found to be quite entertaining. I liked it. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but I did read it all the way through and I liked it. That being said, I have zero interest in reading this. The story taking place in Atlantis is a little bit too far-fetched. Not that the initial concept of Berserker isn't pretty far-fetched, but with you throw in Atlantis and now you're starting to lose me. You've especially lost me when Keanu Reeves' writing partner on this one-shot is Steve Scroce, or yeah, I believe is how you pronounce it. I don't know Steve, so I can't say anything bad about him, but I do know Matt Kint and read a lot of his stuff, and he's the former writing partner on Berserker, and he's fantastic. So for me, anybody other than like Chip Zdarsky or James Tynion IV taking over is going to be a step down. So I'm a little bit concerned about whether or not this will be as good as the 12-issue limited series, or maxi series as they call it. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'm not particularly interested, but maybe you are. The next book I want to tell you about is Power Rangers Unlimited Hyperforce, issue number 1 from Boom Studios. The reason I mention this is because it mentions in the description that the creators of this bring the fan favorite Hyperforce Rangers from the screen to the page for their first dedicated full-length story since their Morphonomical first season. I tried to do some research and see if the Hyperforce Rangers have appeared in comic books previously, and I didn't find anything that told me that they have, so this might be their first appearance. I'm not a big Power Rangers fan, but clearly there is a large fandom out there. They keep putting out Power Rangers content, a lot of it. So if you're a Power Rangers fan, maybe you want to check this out. And if you are interested in the spec, I would do a little bit more research, but it seems like there might be first appearances in here. So that might be something that interests you. The next book I want to tell you about is What If Dark? Spider-Gwen, issue number 1 from Marvel Comics. Basically, the description is, what if Gwen Stacy didn't die on the bridge that day, but Spider-Man did? That's basically all you need to know. I like what if stories. It throws out all the rules and lets a storyteller do whatever comes to their mind, and that type of freedom really interests me in comic books, where usually characters are treated very preciously, and that's not a word, but they treat them in a way that's, as I've heard people say, they're like a toy that you take off the shelf and you play with, but you better put it back exactly like you found it. Well, with a what if story, you can take and snap it in half and spin it and throw it and do whatever you want to it, and that can lead to some cool storytelling. So if you're interested in seeing or reading a what if story based around what was originally the death of Gwen Stacy, now the death of Peter Parker as Spider-Man, this is a book maybe for you to check out this week. The next one I want to tell you about is another new book. It is the X-Men Hellfire Gala 2023, issue number 1 from Marvel Comics. It seems like every year, it is. Every year, for the past few years, they've been putting out these Hellfire Galas. And this one says that the fall of X begins here. Now, I feel like they've been teasing the reckoning that I felt is necessary in the X-Men universe. I feel like they've been teasing this reckoning for years and not paying off on it. Maybe this will actually be the beginning of an interesting X-Men storyline. I don't know. I kind of sort of doubt it. But at the very least, I want it to be on your radar, to be aware that it does seem like they do drop in some story points of significance into these Hellfire Gala events. So be aware that something might be coming there, but who knows if it will. The next book I want to tell you about is another new book. It is called Children of the Comet, issue number 1 of a 5-issue limited series from Sumerian Comics. Basically, the beginning of the description tells you everything you need to know. A new series set in the world of You Promised Me Darkness and Follow Me Into the Darkness. If you're already a fan of one or both of those titles, you would probably like to know that the Children of the Comet is coming out this week. And if you've never read either of those and you're not particularly interested, like me, then you're probably not going to care about this book this week. The next book I want to tell you about is one that would sound fun to me. It's called Rebel Girls. Issue number 1 from Keen Spot Entertainment. This one's interesting enough to me that I'm actually going to read you the entire description. Here it goes. Cursed with the power to resurrect the dead through music, 3 girls from rural Alabama set out to tour dive bars, basements, and county fairs throughout the South. If making it as an all-girl punk band wasn't difficult enough, these cursed souls are pursued by a ghoul disguised as a record executive who has been tasked with using them to resurrect enough of the dead to overthrow the living. Despite the forces of hell patiently awaiting its time to rise, these riot girls are intent to prove that they're no sellouts and that they can make their mark on their own. Will it be Revolution Girl style or Armageddon? This sounds fun to me. I like fun. Fun is fun. So if this sounds fun, to you, if this triggers your happy place at all, I definitely want it to be on your radar. If I wasn't buying anything this week, I would probably pick this up just to check it out because, like I said, it does sound like fun, and I like fun. And that brings us to the book that I would pick this week to buy if I could buy just one book. And that book is The Ribbon Queen, issue number 1 of an 8-issue limited series from AWA. Here's the description. There is something ancient and terrible loose in the world of men. Something that hates them with burning passion, that bears a grudge born of 10,000 years. Something that wants its revenge. NYPD detective Amy Sun has a problem. 3 years ago, a young woman was rescued from a serial killer by a police tactical unit. Now, she's dead. And Amy has a bad feeling that the SWAT team leader is responsible. As she investigates the existence of a corrupt cabal within her own precinct, Detective Sun soon discovers that there is something else on their trail, a force of vengeance older than the human race itself has awoken, invoked by the tormented murder victims in the weeks before she died, and is out for the blood of the guilty, who soon find themselves suffering a fate more gruesome than anything they could have dreamed of. The Ribbon Queen has come to New York City, and when she learns the truth, Amy is not at all certain that it should be stopped. This is a book that, until I started doing research for this video, was completely off my radar. I had no idea that this book existed. Then I read this description. First, I saw that this is from writer Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis is somebody that I don't know firsthand very well, but I do know by name and reputation, and those are good things. The name and the reputation is very positive. So I have hopes that from a writing perspective, this will be very interesting. But more importantly, just this description was interesting to me. There is a mystery there, a murder that needs to be solved. But then there's also this supernatural element to it, to the mystery. And then there's kind of this horror supernatural element to it. Sometimes you start piling on these different things and it dilutes the whole thing and it becomes very uninteresting. For me, as I was going through and reading this description and reading all the different layers to this story, I got more and more interested. I will be perfectly honest with you, I was going to make World Tree number 4 my pick of the week this week because it was the book, before doing research, that I was most excited about. But then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yes, I'm excited about World Tree, but this is a better pick. This is one that I didn't know anything about, but is really engaging me and really has me interested, really and truly. So I can't ignore that. I can't ignore that feeling. I can't ignore my gut. So I'm going to listen to all of that, and I'm going to make The Ribbon Queen, issue number 1, my just one book pick for this week. All right, that's it. That felt a lot faster. I don't know about you. I always talked about a decent amount of books, and I think we got through them pretty quickly. So we'll see how I did, but it feels good. It feels good to you. Thank you again for all the feedback that you gave me. Always feel free to let me know down in the comments. If there's something you like, or if something that I changed you don't like, let me know. If you want something brought back, or if there are more changes that you have as suggestions, please let me know down in the comments. In addition, if you like these changes and you like the effort that I'm making to make these videos and make these changes and make it a better experience for all of us, hit that like button. Like button helps me out a lot, so please hit that button. And if you haven't already subscribed, please, I invite you to go ahead and do that right now. Thank you all so much, as always, for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.